it's not hitting off of a local server. It's hitting off of a UK server. Well. Okay, well, it's working, so we'll go with it. Okay, again, sorry for that. We're taking a look at the new real-time space 4X game by Slithering Games, Polaris Sector. I can turn that off. Okay, so again, real-time 4X. So let's take a look at some of the options here. Starting out, we've got looks like 10 different galaxy types we can choose. You got the standard elliptical, got an elliptical with the central core. We've got a segmented galaxy, a galaxy formed by a number of intersecting disks. Each race populates its own segment there. Rectangular, evenly distributed inside a rectangular area. This is kind of a distant worlds type setup here, standard setup. Kind of galaxy may be difficult to play because of good connections between its parts. Danger can come from any direction. And you've got the Spiral SA, light spiral galaxy. Some races live in the center and have the advantage of close distance between stars. That means quick expansion. Those homeworlds in the spirals have a good defensive position and control the whole spiral with just a couple strong fleets. Then you got SB, less tight spirals, makes stellar tunnels between central and its spirals longer, thus separating the races. SC, looks like a two-arm galaxy there, two-arm spiral. SBA, SB, 4 out of 8 races have their homeworld in a galaxy core, and 4 out of 8 races have theirs in a homeworld. Okay, and then each of them also have some additional modifiers here, including the number of races that can be, let's see. The rectangular galaxy has a modifiable number of races, as does the segmented, the elliptical, and the elliptical with the central. We're going to go with, I don't know, let's take a look. Elliptical with the central segment. Looks good. Disk-shaped galaxy. One race has its homeworld in the center of the galaxy, others are at the edges. Or we could go with the segmented. That looks funny. Galaxy formed by a number of intersecting disks. Each race populates its own segment. Let's go ahead and go with this. We're going to go with the max number of races. I'm also going to max out the stars just to see what kind of system hit we have. Tunnel density, the amount of tunnels per individual star on average. So the lower this is, the fewer connections there are on average between stars. Let's go with like a 1.6 here. 3D shape defines how flat the galaxy will be. Value of 0 is a completely flat galaxy. So it does have some three-dimensional aspects. Let's maximize that and see. I don't think this will get as 3D as, say, Ascendancy was. I think it's more just a little bit more travel time between stars on different Z levels. And the shape aspect ratio defines the galaxy shape. Values less than 1 mean a wide galaxy, while values more than 1 mean a tall galaxy. Let's make it kind of tallish. Okay, we'll just stick with the game setting normal and the victory settings. Oh, what's external threat? So there are other events here. Close to the game completion, there may be some strong external enemy. Defeating him will mean victory for the whole game. And pirate attacks. Pirate fleets may appear from time to time, blocking planets and damaging orbital infrastructure. Regular domination occurs when you have at least 75 EDI and no other race has more than 55%. That's Empire Development Index. Science domination occurs when you or any other race has progressed through 95% of all of the technologies in the game. No other race can have reached 50% for a science domination. So that's probably pretty hard to do. And early domination if you control 40% of the stars, and no race controls more than 15%. Okay, we'll stick with that. Next is race selection. Now this is where customization modding will probably come in. There are 9 starting races, each with different bonuses and penalties, obviously. We've got the Shartar, or Schrodinger's, as in Schrodinger's, anthropomorphic cats, contradiction, paradox, and inscrutability are all at the heart of what means to be a Sharatar. A little bit of background information. I don't think this is anything more than a bit of lore here. Sharatar are anarchists to the core and also sneaky kleptomaniacs who filch anything they can get their paws on before hiding it in their little bags under their fur. They're the Kender of space. Which actually sounds like kind of fun. We've got the Aryans, peaceful race that holds tradition in high regard. First-rate chameleons. Interesting. The mating games played by the Aryans can be entertaining. Wait, we gotta read this part here. They are accompanied by a ritual that became much more diverse after they took off into space. A lack of gravity makes them act as if mildly intoxicated, and their behavior coupled with their show of colors makes an interesting effect. Not many have had the pleasure of seeing the event with their own eyes. Those who have compare Aryans mating to a salamander dance in the fires of the Big Bang. Okay, we've got the Drills, rather dull race that can pass as the Bulldog's long-lost cousin, aggressive and touchy. Gavakins, once upon a time they had their own planet. However, cosmic cataclysm left it unlivable, and its bird-like inhabitants were forced to say goodbye to their home nest forever. Once they had one planet, now they have hundreds, for they consider every planet where at least one of them lives to be their own. Okay, I'm just going to go through, take a quick look at them. I'm not going to read all of them. Ancient advanced race considers themselves to be descended from the gods. They are from the Magellan Cloud Galaxy. Kindest, most peaceful, and most helpful creatures in the galaxy. That doesn't sound like what I'm feeling like today. We've got the humans, also called Earthlings, plain old humans. The Space Koala, Vagalar, happens to be a race which are what happens when a race finds enlightenment at the end of a long evolutionary path. Having a hard time believing that? Just ask them how it happened. And then you've got the Urgans. There is no fully customized race, as in just pick a race and go with it, but we can customize our race. Humans start out kind of middle of the road in most areas. They get a little bit of bonus to mining efficiency at a cost of a penalty to population growth and trade. They also start with the dual TRE engine, which is thermal radiation something. We'll get into that when we get into the actual game. You can also add text, but we don't have any points. We're going to modify the human race a bit. We're going to say, compared to other races, we are terrible at espionage. That's going to give us 9 bonus points. We could become an aquatic human race, merman. We're going to add a second technology to start. Biological alloys, synthesizing alloys inside artificial organisms, and the raw materials that give off waste that are used in metallurgical and chemical industries. The results are flexible, highly elastic, refractory alloys with high electrical conductivity. Stargate module allows a fleet to quickly and efficiently be moved from one system to another. To begin with, 2 ships are used, one of which is sent to the destination while the other remains at the point of departure. Next, the modules are activated and the ships are disintegrated, thus creating a metastable wormhole capable of moving any object between star systems. Interesting. Then you got the Interceptor, heavy ion gun, boson gun. It's a high-tech energy weapon, fires single gluons. A gluon doesn't inflict a great deal of damage, has a limited range, and generating a gluon is time consuming. However, the unusual properties of this boson weapon compensate for all of its shortcomings. First, it is able to lock onto the target, and secondly, if a boson destroys it, the gluon does not disappear, but rather absorbs all of the kinetic energy of the explosion and thus forms a new gluon. Continuing onward, the gluon then locks onto a new target where the boson propagation effect is repeated. In this way, one discharge from a boson can theoretically destroy all of the enemy's lighter vessels. Wow. That sounds interesting. And armed special purpose turret. This turret allows positioning of any weapon, including super heavy and special purpose weapons. If located on the upper deck, it provides a circular field of fire. On the middle deck, the angle of attack will only be 90 degrees. The range of weapons installed in this turret is increased by 5%. That sounds interesting too. I presume the number is the number of bonus points that are required. Let's go ahead and take the special purpose. That leaves us with 7. We're also going to be a happy people. We're in space. We've got to be happy. Leaves us 4 more points. We could reduce our food consumption, increase production speed. It would be 8% better on our factories. We can't quite get research speed bonus unless we take another penalty. Now let's take a penalty to alien assimilation, and then take a research speed bonus as well. So this is our new human race. We both research and mine faster. We grow a little bit slower than the standard, 5%, 20%. Oh, that's a huge penalty. We're happy people. We don't do well with aliens. We're not very good at spies. We're not good at trading. But we do start with 2 extra techs. So, after the race selection, we go right into start the game. That's it. Okay, let's click the button and see what we have. Okay, first of all, it's a possible real time, so you can see up here in the left corner, there's actually, instead of just slow, medium, and fast, or whatever, there's actually 10 speed settings you can go, which is nice. Will be, as with most of my playthroughs of this type of game, especially a new one, we're going to keep it relatively slow, but not completely. So we have, again, this was the interlocking disk galaxy, so you can kind of see some disks in here, and each race is supposed to inhabit its own disk in this setup. So we're up here in the northwest quadrant. Control key and mouse moves around, Alt key and mouse rotates, and you can see, yeah, we can get a bit of a feel for the 3D spatial references here, so that's good. The mouse wheel zooms in and out, there are also key commands for most of this. The bluish purple area here is our area of influence. We have 1 star in it. It is New Earth in the Sigma Pisces Australia system. We have a population of 110,000. We have 51,500. Basically, this is available for work, not being used in our factories and whatnot. We also share the system with 2 gas giants. As far as I can tell, in my brief look, there are never any more than 3 celestial bodies in orbit of any given star. I might be wrong in that, but that's what I've seen so far. If we click on the planet, it opens a planetary information screen. Top left is a build queue. The bottom left is a summary of buildings that we have. So we have 4 production buildings. We have and if we had nothing else, we could build 43 production buildings. This is a balancing act. You can see these red here means we can't build anymore because of the total number of buildings of all types that we have. Mining of resources, we have 5 mines active, 3 are blocked. If we say destroyed some farms maybe. We might be able to build some more production or mines. Same thing with research and farming. The very bottom, we can see what can be built. I don't know what this new template is. I haven't gotten to that yet. So we'll take a look at that as we go along. Of course, everything's grayed out because we can't build anything, but these are the types of things we can build initially based on our current tech. Then we've got ground units. You can build ground units. Takes 1,000 population for police, 500 for marines, 1,000 for tanks, etc., etc. We're not going to build any of these quite yet. Military boats, interesting. Which does lend credence to the fact that there is ground combat in here, obviously, which is good. Of course, you've got descriptions and everything that you can do. Initiatives. These are policies and things that you can do based on whatever text that you have. So you've got austere foodstuffs control policy aimed at reducing the consumption of food by the population by 2 times. When utilizing the policy, the production of buildings decreases by 3x. You've got the Utopia Initiative. Economic and social policies provides all the benefits of the population of the planet, thereby reducing their discontent. Curtailed workday. The productivity falls, but the discontent falls as well. Augmented workday is going to be just the opposite. Extra bonus project directly converts precious resources into production points, and then population control. Okay, and then we've got the ship builders, and these are ships. Now, one thing I can see right off the bat is templates you made in an earlier game are available in new games. These are just templates that I was experimenting with. You start with the scout, the troop carrier, the colonizer, the carrier, the strike corvette, and the X-fighter. These are just some filters along the bottom, and you can build them in quantity by adjusting the slider. At the bottom is a list of all of your production, research, and manufacturing buildings in graphic form. So we have a gravimetric plant, we have a radium plant, a metallurgical plant, an organics plant, a radiochemical plant. We also have 3 factories and an orbital shipyard, 4 research centers, the colonial module, which is your basic setup for any given planet, and 29 farms. And you can see those same numbers over here aggregated. So you've got 5 mining here, you got 5 mining here. Up here you've got your governor type stuff, basically. If you want to, you can micromanage them, or you can set planets to industrialization, agriculture, etc. And then the top right here is a listing of all of your resources on the planet and other bonuses. So there's 9 different resources. There might be a couple more. You've got your food, obviously. Science points is an intangible resource based on the number of research centers you have and other type of things. Same thing with your production points. Used to build everything in the game, and they're based primarily on your factories. Orbital production points are based on your shipyard capability. So those are all of your intangible type of resources. Then you got your physical resources. Gravitonium, extremely rare mineral used in high-tech devices, especially those related to warp tech, so force fields, fuel cells, etc. We are currently producing 2.14 a month, I believe that is. Radium is a rare metal with unique properties used to create extremely durable, lightweight constructions used in spaceship hulls, especially smaller ships. Metal is your basic steel type, titanium, whatever. You need a lot of it to build a formidable space fleet. Organics, resource used in shipbuilding and construction. A lot of it needed for colony ships. And plutonium, common metal used in every device that involves thermonuclear synthesis, ship engines, generators, weapons, etc. Consumption, this is how much we're using per month. We're producing 256, so we should have a surplus here. These are the mineral deposits found on the planet and in the quantities they're found. So we've got more plutonium, metal, and organics than we do the others. Research opportunities, this planet has a research bonus based on what it is. And our total bonuses here based on racial and planetary and technological advances. We get a 9.57% bonus to food production, 5.6 bonus to science production, but we have a minus 8.5% bonus penalty to our overall production. And the bottom is our race, our population. Right now, humans are 100%. If we had a mixed population, that would show here. And total population is 110,000, with 51,000 available for other work / ground units, colonists, etc. And the bottom takes us to additional screens. The economic screen is just an overview of your empire, basically, production, consumption, and the result is our monthly stockpile increase or decrease here. Charts is just your overall score, basically, compared to others. Okay, so that's the planets. We can take a look at planets that we can't do anything with. They give you some information. To colonize gas giants, it's necessarily to build celestial stations, so we can't colonize gas stations. As far as I can tell, the moons don't have any effect in game. We may find out otherwise later. The stars, we can click on the stars, and they each have their own spectral class, just like normal. G-type stars range in color from white to slightly yellow to main sequence, etc. Highest probability of hosting Earth-like and oceanic planets. K class, all of those are modeled pretty well. Let's take a look at, we'll skip the, we'll go to the ship designer. What I'm going to do real quick is delete my designs from earlier. Should be one more in there, that one. So we are starting with fresh designs. So these are the designs that we get, that we start with. The freighter. Now these are the 4 base hull types, hull sizes, basically. We'll get more hull sizes as we advance through the tech tree, I'm pretty sure. So you've got the fighter class, small, obviously maneuverable, used for on carriers and whatnot. Your Corvette is your basic warship. We have starting with the carrier prototype, and basically these blocks here, these colored blocks, these yellow blocks in this case, are where we can place components. So if we start with a new prototype, these are all areas where we can place modules, weapons, engines, etc. Now some things have requirements as far as engines can only go in certain places, as you would expect. Weapons can go in certain places. But what you do is you start with a new prototype, and we will call this a Perry class. It'll be a frigate, basically. Down to the bottom left of your ship designer, you have your weapons, your engines, your various subcategories: generators, armor, shields, and special modules. On the bottom left here, you actually have decks to place things on. You have the top deck. In this case, you have a top deck and a deck 1. Other ships might have multiple, like the freighter has 3 decks, for instance. The top deck, yellow, weapons require a yellow module spot. So we can put weapons here on deck 1 in just a couple places. Purple is usually reserved for engines, or engines require a purple module spot. So let's start with our engines. Let's see what we have. Now, because we're human, everybody will start with the thermonuclear rocket engine, but because we're human, we have the dual thermonuclear rocket engine. Each one is bigger. That requires a 4x7 spot here, where the dual takes a full 7x7. But we could fit 2 of these in. Now let's take a quick look. The standard thermonuclear rocket engine output power is 2860 with a weight of 3,000. This is an output power of 5,500 with a weight of 4,500. So it's almost twice the power output, a little less than twice the output, but only half again the size. So they're obviously more they generate power in a better ratio. Over on the right is our overall stats on the ship, including the cost to build, the size, eventually the speed of the ship, etc. Obviously, the more weight or mass you have on a ship, the more propulsion thrust you need. So let's take a look and see what we can do with 2 of these. Let's add 2 engines. We can see right now that gave us a weight of 1870, gives us a power balance of minus 8,000 because each of these use 4,000 power cost. We need to put some reactors on to at least bring that up to 8,000 just to be able to get them to move. We also don't have any fuel cells on board yet. Obviously you need fuel cells to be able to travel any kind of distance. So let's go to the generators. We've got just a nuclear reactor to start. Now obviously we could put this anywhere within the blue, but if we put it up here that only leaves a 2-column area for anything else. So we're going to move this down there. Each one of these provides 3,000 output power. So obviously we need at least, we're going to not have very much room for this, are we? That gives us an extra 1,000 power. We're going to need a little bit more because it's supposed to be a warship. Now it gives us a power balance surplus of 4,000 right now. We still have to add fuel cells. We have a speed of 21.29, which is pretty good from what I've seen so far. We'll have to wait and see. Now armor is a separate instance. For armor, they don't actually go in slots. It's just an overall armor of the ship. So you basically pick one and your entire ship uses that armor. Now there's a weight to protection trade-off, obviously, as well as the resources required. You can see the titanium requires a lot of metals, organics, with a little bit of radon, no, not radon, but plutonium, I think that orange one is. It doesn't say here. I'm pretty sure that's plutonium. It can withstand 1,252 points of damage and has a weight of 9,750. Now the tungsten can absorb a little bit more damage, not much. Its weight is almost 2.5 times the weight of the titanium armor, however. The benefit is it doesn't require any, it requires the same amount of organics, it requires twice as many metals. Actually, it doesn't require any of the plutonium, instead it uses the radion. So that might depend on what your surplus minerals look like in your empire. We'll stick with the lighter one. If we can see what effect it will have if I switch to the tungsten, our speed will go from 21 down to 16 due to the added weight. So we'll stick with the titanium for now. Shields, obviously, we don't have any yet. That'll be come through research. Okay, we need fuel in order to get this ship to be able to move anywhere. Right now, all we have is the standard fuel tanks, and this is where we're probably going to have problems because, well, we could put now the yellow is required for weapons, but it doesn't have to automatically have to be in a or contain a weapon. It's just that's a minimum requirement for a weapon. So what we may do is actually, let's right click and pull that up. Let's put 2 fuel cells down here, and then we'll put that extra power module back on in the top nuclear reactor up here. So now we still have a power balance of 3,200. The weight is up to 52,000. Our speed is still at 15.6, which is okay. But we don't have any weapons yet, so let's go over to the weapons. Now, weapons need 2 things. Well, they need a couple things. First of all, they're going to need a surplus power to be able to use them. They'll need a yellow slot, and then they also take a turret. Each weapon will have some sort of turret before, for instance, we have the light armed turret. Select that. Now the weapons themselves become available. You've got 3 types. You've got energy weapons, beam weapons, and missiles and torpedoes. Our basic energy weapon is the ion gun. Basic energy weapon that fires a beam of relativistic ions. Not the most effective weapon. Simple, reliable, high rate of fire. Modifications of this gun for small, medium, and large ships differ in range, per charge capacity, and rate of fire. Okay, for beam weapons, we have the basic laser. This beam weapon is inferior in strength and range of energy, but it has an incredible accuracy and a fast recharge rate. Also well suited as a torpedo and missile interceptor, so basically point defense, where it is especially effective when working in conjunction with a ballistic computer. And then we also have the missiles and torpedoes. Basic missiles. Now we start with the light armed turret. Every race will start with that, but because we took the human bonus tech, we also have the armed special purpose turret. It gives a range of 5% to all weapons and has a power cost of 500. The turret allows positioning of any weapon, including super heavy and special purpose weapons, which normally couldn't fit into this type of turret. Now, this is a 6x6 area, this is a 3x3 area. So we could stick a beam weapon, laser turret down here. Now, weapons are kind of unique in placement. If you place a weapon on the top deck, any weapons placed up here will have a 360-degree field of fire. So you're going to basically use this for your primary offensive weapons. Weapons placed on deck 1 or lower have a 90-degree field of fire. So if I place a laser beam weapon here and here, basically these are going to be able to fire only on the port and aft, port and starboard arcs, basically. Now, that's good because what we're doing is we're setting these up as basically point defense weapons here. They're point defense lasers. Lasers are good at shooting down fighters and missiles. So we're going to set those up as point defense missiles. We still have 2,400 power, so go back up. Up here, we're going to go ahead and go with 1 heavy because that's all we can fit on this hull is 1 of these heavy turrets. Oops. Erase that. But I don't want that to be a laser. Missiles. Yeah, let's go with a plasma missile as our main battery there. Now the 18, I don't know if this is the number of shots or the number of reloads, to be honest. I think it's the number of missiles launched in a single salvo. We'll have to determine that as we go along. And then I'm also going to go with 2. I still have plenty of power. I'm going to go with 2 ion guns. Let's see, what's the range? 1900 for that. Range is 800. Yeah, we'll go with the slightly longer range ion gun here, and we'll put 2 of these in. Oops, nope, we can't build that many because we don't have the power. Are the lasers take less power maybe? If so, oh yeah, a lot less power. So we'll put 1, 2, well, we'll put 4 on then. So we've got 2-point defense lasers. Now these can obviously be used as point defense as well. Just because they're on the upper deck doesn't mean anything, but they have a 360-degree field of fire as well. Unfortunately, they're shorter range, so the missiles are going to be our primary power punch. And then if we had room, and we might actually take a look at this, we can come to the special. And these are other modules. Obviously, we got this fuel tank in, so that single fuel tank gives us a range of 2,000, whatever these units are. HU, I'm not sure what they are. So we might actually trade off. I don't know what how that compares to some of the other ships. We might take a look and actually remove one of the weapons and put another fuel cell on. We've got the munition supply system, recharge missiles and torpedoes and turrets and small ships in the hangar of the mothership. Reserves for this module could be replenished on friendly planets. Capacity 50 missiles. You know what? It's a 5x6. We don't have room for it. 4 fuel, power. Yeah, I don't have room for one of those. That's a shame. I don't like this design already because of the missiles. You know what? Let's go back up to the top deck, remove that, and change our weapon to a 6x6 ion cannon. And yeah, that number 4 has got to be the number of guns in the turret. 4 ion guns, bingo. Okay, so now we don't have to. Oh, we can't do that because of the power requirements. Ugh. Oh, this is bad. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. This is ship design. Because we're so early tech, there's not a lot we can do. The basic ships that we start with, we'll have to do. Other things we can add, hangar deck to make it a carrier of somewhat, and that can be a full-time carrier with multiple torpedo and fighters, or it can be just like a satellite carrier or something like that. Your infrared scanner is just your most basic scanner. It will help you detect things like fighters and torpedo bombers at a slightly larger range. Colonization module, obviously required for colonizing. Landing module, landing troops. Passenger module, transporting passengers, useful for transporting whole populations between planets. So this is basically your colony ship has settled a new planet, and you want to move people in a hurry to help populate the planet. That's what the passenger module is. Bomb bay module, orbital bombardment of a planet. And refueling module, create a tanker ship that can refuel other ships. So those are the basic modules that we start with here at the beginning of the game. I'm going to scrap this design. Obviously, we don't have enough information or enough tech to make an effective design at this point. We can take a look. That had a range of 200 HU. Let's just take a quick look and see what the range of these ships are. 500 HU for the carrier, and this is what we were basically designing, was a strike corvette. It used the small turreted ion guns, and that's going to have to satisfy our early game combat ships. Battle satellites. Stationary armored platform carrying heavy weaponry. Now we could actually design one of these. I used one of these fairly early. And this is one with 3 decks. Obviously a lot of room in the inner deck. Lots of weapon room on the top deck. And then we've got 3 freighters to start. Our first one is a scout with a range of 30,000. It's our basic exploration ship. We've got a troop carrier to start, and we've got a colonizer to start. So colonizer has a range of 11,000. Now I could probably change, let's see, we can edit, or we can copy this one and see if we can actually put better engines on. And let's see, if we delete 2 engines, our current speed is 3.77. And it's got, these are all fuel, I believe. Let's go back to the engines. So speed of 377 and a range of 30,000. If I delete these 2 and put a single one of these in 3.74, wow. So we actually lose speed with that. Really, that's interesting. 374, 30,000. 377, 30,000. So the 2 of these are more efficient than one of the duals. Why is that? Power, output power. Yeah, because the output power of 2 combined are, but the weight of this is only 3/4 of the weight of 2 of those. Huh. That's interesting. I wouldn't have expected that. So basically what we have is these are, I believe these are fuel here. Where's our fuel tank? Yeah, that's what those are, our fuel tanks. That's what's giving us our range. And on the bottom, we have our generators, some more fuel tanks, and we got 2 more engines here as well. Wow, lots of engines on this thing. These are cargo bays here, cargo containers, which as we explore, we might find things in space that we want to pick up, and that's what those are for. So we can carry... Now, one thing I do note, I might actually at some point redesign this and add some more cargo containers, because the satellite that I built in my previous attempt actually broke down and required 5 of these cargo containers, or 2.5 freighters, to be able to transport them. We'll worry about that later, so we're going to go ahead and delete that design. So that's ship design. Diplomacy, that's pretty self-explanatory. We haven't met anybody yet, so nothing to look at there. Economics, we looked at. Research. Now, research in this game is different from many other 4X games in that you don't research individual components or even individual trees. Rather, research is ongoing everywhere that you have access to at the same time. You have... First of all, you have your fundamental sciences, biology, chemistry, mathematics, and physics. And these are your 4 basic building blocks of research. Then you have your applied sciences. And these are the things that the blue ones, the light blue ones, are areas that you're currently able to research in. And these eventually lead into individual components and more research more applied sciences down the road. So for instance, complex design, once we get enough points there, i.e. we need 194 points, we will have researched atmospheric domes and be able to build those. It also leads into repair modules. And eventually, complex design will also lead into nothing else. There we go. Battle platforms, celestial stations, hangar with repair, all of these other things lower down. We're currently getting 0.76 of our total research is going into the complex design. That's based on the fact that we have 4.56 science output. 50% of that is going straight into our fundamental sciences at the moment. The other 50% are spread among these 3 technologies here. And nanotechnology, we can see, leads to interceptors and missile traps. And thermonuclear synthesis doesn't lead directly into a research component. but eventually will lead into these anti-muon guns, armor-piercing torpedoes, blasters, bosons, etc., etc., etc. Eventually, automation, once we get, this is a lot to potential, once we get, I forget what leads into that, this will unlock as some of these fundamental sciences improve. I believe, and it's relatively early, I know that, there is a hidden field, I believe, which talks, let's see, can I click on it? Nope, not yet. I was going to say there's a field that calculates, for instance, automation is going to be probably based purely on math, I would think. Maybe, yeah, probably purely on math, maybe math and physics. So as some of these, as I accumulate more math and physics points, this will eventually unlock. Xenobiology is biology and chemistry, I think. As I accumulate more points toward those, that will unlock. And once that unlocks, it will lead to some more things. Hydroponics farm is down here a little ways, and those will eventually open up for research. Now the other thing, oh, here's automation. Yeah, there it is. Automation is pure mathematics. I thought it was in there somewhere. So once I get mathematics level 3, automation will unlock. So evidently our mathematics is at level 2 or lower at this point. Xenobiology is pure biology. So that's what these are. Now you can take one area and set it as a priority, and when it does that, because that's pure math, it takes and puts all of our research into math. But instead of taking 2.5 years or whatever it was, now we will complete that in 4 months. The drawback is anything that requires biology, chemistry, and physics, you can see these are all grayed out. We're not going to put any point, or we're not going to complete any research towards these areas while we're researching automation. We'll keep it like that since it's only 4 months. We'll go ahead and keep it like that for now. And that's it. Settings gives you a bunch of options, obviously. Auto pause. Once we start the game will pause periodically as events happen, and you can customize it here. Global is your scroll speeds, volume, etc. I've got those. Hopefully, I've got those music volume and everything adjusted. Auto save period interval. Tooltips, combat settings. Just basically how your ships are going to react, and other is additional short summary on economic screen. Let's go ahead and put those on. I don't know what they do. Information on available resources on the planet screen. Let's select those and see what happens when we select our planet now. Set additional resources, but I don't see any. What it might have been is on this screen here, maybe. Let's go back and see if that changes anything on this screen. On planet screen. Yeah, I don't see any changes. Maybe that's on planets that we discovered. Okay, that is an overview of the various screens. So then let's go ahead and actually start the game. We start with a scout. It's a freighter-based scout, and we can see the warplanes we can go through. We're going to go investigate Till, since it's a star that hopefully will have a planet worth colonizing. When I click on it, you can see down at the bottom yep, you can't see. Okay, you can see it's going to take 9 months, 24 days, and 1,700 tons of fuel to move the ship to that star. So that's where our range comes from. We had 30,000 fuel, and it's going to cost roughly, I don't know, 2,000 to get to Till. So with that said, let's go ahead and unpause. And I'm going to, just for this initial bit, we're just going to move real slow. I'll bump the speed up here as we go along to get to a comfortable speed. I don't know how fast I want to run this at this point. Okay, fleet, again, it will pause when certain things happen. We've done two things here. Research completed automation, and fleet reached its destination. Okay, it's paused now. If I click on one of these, oops, there was something else that popped up. If I click on one of these, it'll take me to the appropriate screen. So automation was a set of technologies designed to optimize and accelerate the mass production process of various types of devices and structure. Without developed automation, the construction of large ships might require dozens or even hundreds of years. Okay, first of all, we have no prior to research. Everything went back to a balanced state. Now we can see automation is done. It has led to enhanced tungsten armor, gravity resonance tank, and medium armed turret. These are all now getting researched at a obviously slow rate because we have a very very small amount of science. We have another ship hull size here, and now you can see here this is going to take 3,286 points of mathematics, and we're getting 1 point of math per month at this. I think this is a monthly, pretty sure this is a monthly generation. It's also going to take 1,181 points of automation, and automation we know took 4 points of math, I believe. Yeah, 4 points of math. So yes, this is monthly, first of all. Now, since automation is pure math, it's going to hit, go back there to, what was that, the frigate I was looking at? You can kind of calculate when you might see this. If we're getting just over 1 point of math per month, it's going to take us, and we needed 4 points of math per automation, so we need 4,500 total math at 1 point a month. That's 4,500 months at our current research level, hence 2,400 in years at our current research level. Now, obviously we could boost that by changing the math to other ratio, but we're not going to worry about that quite yet. We just need to improve our research capability. But some other things that came up, the medium armed turret is fully based on automation. The gravity resonance tank, which is a fuel cell, fully based on automation. That's only going to require 4 times 123 is 500 total math points, but that's still quite a ways away. We're not going to change much. What I am going to do is pump a little bit more into our fundamental sciences. So anything that is based just on a single field, like xenobiology is based just on biology, will improve a little bit faster. Island of Stability based just on math will improve a little bit faster since it's just needing math points. Same thing with plasma alloy. It needs both chemistry and math, but it's still just pure fundamental science. What will happen, however, is things like enhanced tungsten armor, which requires automation, is now getting automation points at a slightly slower basis because the applied sciences are getting a little bit fewer tech points. But what I'm basically wanting to do is increase the rate of some of these fundamental science fields, subatomic particles, plasma alloying, get those done a little bit sooner so that we will open up more research. So we're going to go with that. We'll keep it at a 65-35. Now the other thing you can do is, if I really wanted to increase, say, xenobiology a little bit faster, I can bump this up to, say, 35%. You right click it, it'll lock it, and now any adjustments will be made to the others. So that's pretty common among many of the things. Let's go ahead and get xenobiology done as well. So that'll get it done just a little bit quicker. Now we also, you notice we clicked on it. We can't click on this right now, even though that finished at the same time. Well, you have your event viewer here, which opens up all of your events. Now I can go to here, and it's okay. It's just going to take me to the location we are already. First of all, let's take a look at the planets. We have a desert planet, we have a gas giant, and we have a planetoid. We can't colonize any of them. We need atmospheric domes for these two, and we need the celestial station for the gas giant. Now, one thing we can take a look at and see that Teal 1 The desert world has gravitonium, metal, organics, and plutonium, which are available. Oh, metals are very good quantities. Organics are very good as well. Plutonium is actually pretty good for that as well. So that's, we're going to have to get the atmospheric dome, but it's something to keep our eye on. If we zoom in, oh, we are zoomed in. There's also something else here. We have some debris. Obviously, something made by intelligent life, so it's possible there's something useful there. You'll need a ship with a container transport module if you want to explore it. Well, if you remember when we looked at the scout design, we have 2 containers on there, and you can see we have a cargo load 0400. Now, this is something that isn't covered in this tutorial. It's not covered in the module anywhere I could see. It's like, how do you get that into your ship? You can't right click it. I tried merging and that didn't do. What it is when you have your scout ship or cargo ship of whatever type selected, come up here and there's your shortest route. You've got safe route, you've got select all for multiple ships. There's something called explore here for some ships. And if you click on that, basically it's going to pick that up and put it in your bay. And we found a big deposit of purified radium. So we now have a bunch of radium. It went directly into our stockpile. So we now have 763. What was radium again? Radium is the structural light ship type stuff. Extremely durable, lightweight constructions, most commonly spaceship hulls, especially for smaller ships. So we just increased our stockpiles. I don't know if I covered this screen here. On the main map, you've got your current stockpiles: 110 gravitonium, 763 radium, 20k metals, organics, 2000 plutoniums, and 884 food. That's the left. The right side is your amount of increase or decrease per month. So we're gaining 146k food per month, and we're gaining small amounts of the various other resources per month as well. Okay, well, on the map you'll see these little triangles here. Those are basically stars that you can navigate to based on the current jump lines that you know about. So we're going to go back to home. Now you'll notice we have 28,000 fuel on board. Let's go ahead and unpause it. 28,000 fuel, and it's ticking down over time. Once you land at a planet anywhere within your sphere of influence, you'll automatically refuel. So once I and you don't have to stop at the planet. If I went straight from Teal to Psi Cygnus, it would also refuel as well, because it has to go through a planet that I control. So let's go ahead and move out to Psi Cygnus now. You can, by the way, rename many of these things. Like, I can come up here and rename the Teal system to something if I wanted to. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But that's all within the realm of capability. Okay, so we've now reached Psi Cygnus, and we found an anomaly there, calling a wormhole. It's a distortion in space-time. It's something like a hypertunnels between stars, though space is much more compressed. If our theories hold true, any ship equipped with a hyperdrive should be able to enter an object like that, just as it would any other hyperspace tunnel, and exit almost instantaneously at another star. Unfortunately, unlike normal tunnels, there's no way to know where wormhole tunnels end up. This anomaly is also unstable, meaning that it is theoretically possible for the tunnel to collapse on top of and destroy the ship as soon as it enters. I haven't had that happen yet. Now, one thing I will note is, and I don't know if it's cosmetic or what, but wormholes have different colors. I've seen blue, I've seen the red, I think I may have seen a yellow one. Wormholes allow to make an instant transit to another region of space. The problem is you do not know where it goes and how many of your ships should survive the jump. The one that I've tested so far was a blue wormhole, and it did not have a corresponding wormhole at the other end for me to travel back to where I started from. So I ended up losing a scout ship when it ran out of fuel at the far edges of the galaxy. Now, Perhaps, and I don't know, perhaps a different colored wormhole might have a different transit type. Like there might be a mated wormhole at the other side. I don't know. At this point, I'm not ready to explore the wormholes, but it's there. Let's move on to Eta Cygnus. See our fuel's ticking down. Now, one thing that's nice is when you go to or try to travel to a star that's out of range, it will tell you that. Did we look at the planets here? We did. We didn't. Required technology. It's a exhausted dwarf and a gas giant. This one, however, we've got a desert again, a planetoid. They both need atmospheric domes, and a gas giant. So we're not having any luck finding habitable planets. Let's go to New Cygnus next. That'll take us back to Psi, and then down to New. So you can see the little triangles here showing all of the places I can actually move to. And while I'm thinking about it, it might be a good idea to go ahead and start manufacturing a second scout, just because they take a while for one. Actually, let's build a colonizer first. It's going to take 5 years and 7 months to build one of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and build that, and then I'm going to go ahead and queue another scout up as well. That takes 6 years itself. So 5 years for our first colony ship to be built. And you can see we're February of 51, so we're looking at sometime in 56 before we get our first colony ship. Maybe by then we'll actually have found something. We're going to go ahead and bump up the speed a little bit. 1.6. Okay, so New Cygnus. It's the right star type. Hopefully it will have a planet that we can exploit here. Nope, it's got a contaminated planet. Radiation-resistant atmospheric dome required. Hundreds of thousands or perhaps millions of years ago, ancient civilizations thrived on these planets. In the process, they almost completely depleted the planet's mineral reserves and destroyed the environment. Presently, these civilizations are extinct, having left behind a polluted planet, while time wiped out anything that remained. This is the final reckoning of their lives. However, according to an alternative version, these ancient peoples may have been destroyed by some powerful force, while these contaminated planets are actually traces of a distant war. Like it or not, it is impossible to be sure. In any case, polluted planets are not very attractive worlds, and they have virtually no useful resources. It would be very rare to find even small quantities of metals, organics, or radioactive materials. Contaminated planets are difficult to colonize. It is necessary to build radiation-resistant colonial modules and atmospheric domes. Colonization would virtually have no meaning, as they are only useful as military installations or for creating production facilities of second-rate efficiency. Except for specialized laboratories, a high level of background radiation does not allow scientific facilities to be built, and construction of an efficient agricultural system is impossible because of the poison atmosphere and contaminated land. So they're not very good planets. We also have a frozen planet and the planetoid. So still nothing. 1,100 tons of fuel required to move there. We have the fuel to do that. Let's do that. And we're not having any luck finding anything. Your explorers sent back word that they found a planet in the Saddle Sud system that seems very similar to our own home planet. Our colonists will have a great time settling up a new civilization. Finally, we found something. We have an Earth-like planet. We also have another contaminated and a gas giant. Why do I feel like I'm re-inhabiting a planet that was part a planetary sector of space that was involved in a Great War? We've got, looks like, all of the resources. We have additional science capability here. Let's take a quick look. Planet bonuses, plutonium in modest quantities, organics in really good quantities, not much else. We actually get negative bonuses to gravitonium, radium, and production, but a bonus to food and science, which is good. Now, you can colonize a couple different ways. For this first one, I am going to go ahead, since I've already started building the colony ship, I'm going to go ahead and just colonize normally, which is actually manually moving it. The other way you could do it is if you plan colonization, it would queue a colony ship and also set up a planetary governance system, i.e. balanced or agricultural or whatever you might want to set it up for. I'm going to micromanage the first planet just to show how managing a planet is done. Okay, let's go ahead and we've got a little over half of our fuel left. That should be enough for us to be able to explore Cygnus before we actually have to go back to refuel. And we still have 4 years for our colony ship to be done. In the meantime, our stockpile of food is up to 7 million, which is good because as we start colonizing, we can't do it yet, but as we start colonizing like desert planets and whatnot, we'll need that food stockpile. 2 gas giants, not useful. Can we get to Rama? Yep, we still can get to Rama and have enough fuel to get back home for a refuel. It's probably going to be the last one before I go back and refuel. We're under half fuel once we get there. Even though we only have 2 jumps to go back. Most of the rest of this arm here is going to be kind of out of range. Okay, let's see what we got up here. We're not finding many specials. Exhausted Dwarf and Exhausted Dwarf, so not very much in our region of space that is of use. I haven't even seen a lot of planets with decent metals or minerals to harvest. It's a little bit worrying. See all those bright stars? I wonder if those are... Ours isn't a homeworld, so that's just the spectral class, I guess. O-type star. Okay, so we are back home. We are refueled. Let's go take a look down this arm, the Cygnus, and see if that leads to anything useful. Got another planetoid and gas giant. Again, no minerals. This is a little bit worrying here. Let's continue down this arm. We are in 56, so our colony ship should be done here shortly. Let's go ahead and slow things down just a bit. And here we have nothing, nothing useful. Wow. Wow. We're going to run into a severe mineral crunch at some point. I think I've only got like 2 planets with anything. There was one that was really nice. So in Cygnus that had a decent plutonium amount. This was the one with a ton of metal, if I remember correctly. A moderate amount of metal. Oh, I missed it. Freighter complete, and this is actually our colonizer. So, like as with all other ships, take a look. How do we get colonists on board? There's no colonists on board right now. There's a board colonist button up here. So everything for the ships, all the special actions you might be able to do are up here along this menu. So we now have 1,000 colonists. Let's go. It was in Saddlesud. Yeah, so we are en route to colonize our first planet. Extrasolar planet. Okay, that unlocked a couple more areas. And, oh, no. And we have a hot planet with metal, organics, and plutonium. Can't be colonized. We need another radiation-resistant atmospheric dome. Hot planets are situated very close to stars, so the surface temperature can vary from 400 to 3,000 Celsius. Planets have no atmosphere due to the strong stellar wind, and seismic activity may range from negligible to average. Colonizing hot planets difficult, requiring radiation-resistant colonial modules, atmospheric domes. Efficient agricultural system not feasible. for this reason, except for specialized laboratories that it's impossible to build scientific facilities. Nonetheless, these planets often have large reserves of metals and sometimes even organics and radioactive materials, but rarely are found gravestone and radium. Production facilities are of mediocre efficiency, can be built, but at the expense of mineral extraction. Another decent source of metals and okay source of organics. So we're finding more hot and desert worlds than anything else. 1,900 tons of fuel required. We're still at above 2/3 fuel, so we'll continue exploring. In the meantime, we have started building another scout here.